Hello everyone, my name is GhostOPTC, and in today's video, I want to be discussing what characters you should prioritize feeding Super Tandem tablets into. So this is going to be a worst to best list, and so yeah, let's get started. This is a Google Slides I made a few minutes ago, because I saw that no one really has made this yet, and I was waiting to hold off till we get, maybe a new batch of Super Tandem characters, and this will probably be updated as time goes on, but we did get the new Fest exclusives announced that are coming out in the month of July. So let's get started. So these are all the characters that have Super Tandem, and it's a lot. So we have the new Who's Who, Sasaki, and Black Maria. I won't be discussing what they do on this channel because everyone else has already done it, so there is really no point in me doing it because most people should know what they do, but I will be discussing their Super Tandems in this video. We also have the Treasure Map exclusive Blackbeard, as well as the Law and Kid that came out for June, and the Super Tandem Fest exclusive Kaido and Luffy. So these are all the characters. They all do very different, well, somewhat very different things in their Super Tandems. And so let's get into the criteria that I'm going to be ranking them in this list for. So what are my criteria? Well, it comes down to power, accessibility, and the level difference. So touching on power, how strong is the Super Tandem? Is it super strong that can help you demolish content very, very easily, like we've seen with some Super Tandems? Or is it on the weaker side but provides other effects that can make up for that? The next one is accessibility. So how hard is it to use the Super Tandem? For example, one of the characters, which I'll be discussing later, is very, very hard to activate, and it ultimately hurts the character's Super Tandem, and the reason why they wouldn't be higher. And level difference also matters, because if the condition starts changing level by level by level, and it becomes easier, then it does definitely hurt the unit, because you then have to keep maxing them out to become much better than before. Now as that is done, let's get into the priority order. So, the first ranking I have is the 6th place with the new Who's Who, Black Maria, and Sasaki. These are regular Battle Legends, so you can pull them off tickets, and I do not suggest whatsoever you should be pulling on their banner. But let's talk about what they do. So, yes, this is Who's Who's Super Tandem at level 5. He's gonna boost Dex and Quick characters attack by 2.25 times for one turn, and it's a tandem, so it attacks. Not attack. It stacks everything else, and all these will be tandem, so I won't have to say that after this. I'm gonna do enemies Rainbow Shield by 2 turns. And you'll see a trend here with Sasaki, who is the same thing, but for strength and quick characters, and he removes the threshold, I believe. Yeah, and he reduces threshold. And then Black Maria boosts strength and dex characters and removes defense up. So they're all 2.25 times attack boosters to colors they aren't, and have a bit of utility. Now, if they all boosted strength, dex, and quick characters, instead of, well, just to let you guys know, Who's Who boosts dex and quick, and he has strength. Sasaki boosts strength and quick, and he has dex. And then Black Maria boosts strength and dex. Wait, no. You boost strength and quick, you boost dex and quick, you boost strength and dex, and Black Maria is a quick character. So they're not being boosted by any of their own super tandems, which means you have to use other super tandems to work and partner with them, and so it definitely hurts the unit a lot. The only beneficial factor to this is that removal of defense up, rainbow shield, or threshold. However, I don't think it's an effect you should ever be prioritizing your super tandem tablets on maxing out, because these are very rare. There are only 2 tablets that anyone could get at max. One from it was the Blitz battle versus Odin, and then from completing all of the missions from Grand Voyage from the month of May. So the only beneficial factor is the utility, but I think you can just work it with level 1, because at level 5 they start removing 2 turns. At level 1 through 4 they only remove 1 turns of the enemy buffs. So I think that just using them at level 1 is going to be just a better thing to get around a little bit of utility. But the reason they're down here mostly is because they don't boost themselves. If they boost themselves, they'd probably be in 5th, or maybe they'd stay here. But overall, it's pretty mid that they don't boost themselves, and I do not suggest summoning for these characters when they come out in 2 days as of recording of this video. So in 5th place, we have the Treasure Map exclusive Super Tandem Blackbeard. Now his Super Tandem is pretty strong, giving a 1.5 times attack boost to Driven and Powerhouse, as well as boosting the chain multiplier growth rate by 1.5 times. This is the first 1.5 times chain multiplier growth rate boost we've seen in the game. We only really get it from super types or switches, where it's a 1.25 times boost to the chain multiplier growth. Now it's pretty unique and pretty strong, but the only problem is it's very hard to activate. Unlike Black Maria's, Who's, and Sasaki, this guy requires a lot more effort in shoving these characters in your team. That's kind of a main problem of Super Tandem, because you have to team build around those characters to get their full potential. But for him, you have to have 2 of his pirates, which could be Burgess, Shiryu, Van Alger, Avalo Pizarro, Lafitte, Harina Devon, Sancho and Wolf, Basset Shot, or Doc Q. And after saying all those names, how many memorable and notable characters are there? There are those characters. Because there's not many. And so it's very hard to shove those characters in their teams that there's not a lot of. So it's not a lot of them that are good. I mean, obviously the Shiryu and the Jesus Burgess that are released around him are pretty good. But if you don't have the specific units, it's a lot harder to activate his Super Tandem. I would have loved to seen some more Blackbeard pirates for Kizuna, but they went down an impel down kind of approach. The only reason this is not higher is because of the condition of the characters. I think it would probably either stay this place. I think it would stay the place where it is right now if it required. I would have loved to seen if like it only required 1, and Bandai would realize like, oh, you know, there's not a lot of good Blackbeard pirates. Let's just make it 1 as the levels go up or something like that. But the problem is with a lot of characters is that not a lot of Blackbeard pirates are going to be released from now on. Like, obviously, for certain characters, there are always going to be new units of them. Whereas for like Blackbeard pirates, it's a lot harder because, like, the last one we got was like a year ago. Well, over a year ago of Blackbeard pirates, which is a big problem because that shows that like once a year they'll probably release a Blackbeard badge to say, oh yeah, here's a new Blackbeard legend, take that. But makes him very devalued that he wasn't like certain other characters that required a Driven or a Powerhouse. I would have loved to see if it was like you have to bring a Driven or Powerhouse character, one of his crew members, and himself. That would have been much easier to activate, and I think people would definitely appreciate that more. But it's still a very strong effect, giving the highest chain multiplier growth rate boost, and a slight attack boost being 1.5 times. But yeah, that is my thoughts on Blackbeard. So let's move on to the 4th place. So in 4th place, I have the Super Tandem Kid that released for the month of June. Some people might disagree with this, but I have some opinions on him that some people will most likely agree with. And it really falls under the fact of the condition being very hard from levels, 1 and up. So pretty much at level 5, he's going to require 1 Driven or Striker character, and any one of the following characters, which is a Killer, Heat, Wire, or a Luffy. Now that last name should be like, wait, what, why? Because there's no good Driven or Striker Luffys. I don't know if there's any Driven Luffys either. So that does hurt his, kit obviously, because it's like the Blackbeard Pirates. Killer, Heat, and Wire have almost no good units. I mean, the new batch, Heat and Wire, the free-to-play Killer, and the Killer from like the 7th anniversary are pretty good. But that's like really it that comes to mind. Like Heat and Wire, I don't think have any other units. They might have one like story character or something like that, but not a good one. And there are some pretty good killers, but at the same time, it's very hard to like squeeze a character in. It's very niche, so it does hurt the character. And the part setting defense to 0 for 1 turn, yes, it's a bit of utility, and it's a 2 times attack boosted driven in strikers. However, I think it does kind of have some flaws because it does not start at the defense to 0. It starts at like having the defense, and it goes up to drastically, and then 0. So it does hurt the character a lot. Because maybe you want to get around defense up with this character, but you don't have it at level 5. It only has the defense, so it does, again, hurt the character. However, it's a very, very strong super tandem, and it's very similar to Blackbeard's in the sense where it's like there's not a lot of good killer heats and wires, and like no driven or striker Luffy's. However, it's nice that they say one driven or striker character, so you don't have to completely center 2 spots on your team just to the activation of a super tandem like Blackbeard. But who knows, maybe down the line we'll get a really good killer or a really good heat and wire, and we'll just continually start getting them more and more as Wano keeps going on. And if that's the case, then this kid will probably be ranking higher because it's a very good super tandem. I mean, defense to 0, which should work with conditional boost, and a 2 times attack boost is nothing bad with that. I just don't think that it's as good as some other ones. Oh, and before we move on, I forgot to mention that at his level 1, he requires 2 driven characters and then one of the following. So it's 4 units to activate at level 1. So it hurts the character a lot more when you're at lower levels because you need, it's not 2 driven or striker characters, it's 2 driven characters and 1 killer heatwire or Luffy. And yes, if you're team building, you're probably going to be bringing driven characters because driven is super tandem. Not super tandem, super class. But then you have to shove another unit in, and let's say you want to bring some more strikers, because I mean, just looking at some very good strikers, X Drake, he's not driven, Watcher's not driven, Kaido is not driven. Like, there's a lot of units that can work with this character, but at the same time, because he boosts strikers, strikers are better than driven. But yeah, that's what I wanted to touch on before we move on to the 3rd place. So in 3rd place, we have the Super Tandem Law that came out at the same time as Kid. Now, I think Law's Super Tandem is better for certain reasons, but we'll get started. So at level 5, when 1 Cerebral or Free Spirit character is on the crew, so you have to bring a Cerebral or Free Spirit character, and then there has to be one of the following characters: Beppo, Sachi, Penguin, Jigen Bart, Monkey D. Luffy, or Corazon. That's a much easier thing to activate, but it's not exactly easy, because at level 1, just like Kids, it requires 2 Cerebral characters instead of Driven. As time goes on, it goes to Cerebral and Free Spirit, and then 1, and so, again, it progressively gets easier, like we see with most Super Tandems, but it does hurt the character. And there's a lot of better, Luffy's that are Free Spirit or Cerebral. I mean, is there any Luffy that are Cerebral? Probably. But all Luffy's are usually Free Spirit, some with the exception of Powerhouse. So that definitely helps the character a lot because then he can actually get access to the ability to use Luffy's. Beppo has a few good units, and Sachi and Penguin have like no good units. Like, they didn't even release a Sachi and Penguin unit this month to help, and I checked on a database a few days ago. There are no Free Spirit or Cerebral Gene Barts, like 0. So obviously you can't use him. But Corazon being on there and getting his level limit break is very, very nice, and Corazon still sees play even without his level limit break. So I think it's much easier to activate Lost Super Tandem. But let's get into the level 5 effect. So at Super Tandem level 5, it'll boost the attack of Cerebral and Free Spirit by 2 times. Makes all their type slots, so Strength, Dex, Focus, Int, matching. And just to touch on some other characters, I think this is just a weaker version of Luffy's. It's a tiny bit easier to activate and boost more characters. Because it's a 2 times attack boost and making all type slots matching. So that's very, very good because it gives you more damage, unlike Kids, which says defense is 0, but now all your type slots are matching. So if you have an aura boost but don't have a full art of orbs, you can use this. All your type slots are matching and you're golden. Still 2 times attack boost, just like Kids, which is very, very strong. And obviously they'll start at like a 1.25, 1.5, somewhere around there, and you'll keep moving up with this character. But I think the thing that hurts this character the most, just like Kid, is his condition. because it's a very, very strong effect, making your type slots matching, giving it 3 times attack boost. And the reason Kid is ranked lower is because there's less units used for his super tandem, and Free Spirit's obviously a better class than Driven and Striker, to be honest. Like, Free Spirit's the best class in the entire game, and getting access to use Free Spirit characters, even Cerebral characters, are very, very good. It just improves this character better than Kid in my eyes. But to be honest with you, they're very, very close. I just think it's easier to activate laws, and I think the effect is a little bit better. But now, let's start with the next, well, the top 2 characters, which everyone should know by now, are the 8th anniversary units. Now, before we get into actually discussing the top 2 characters, I want to go over the pros and cons of both Luffy and Kaido. So we're starting here with Luffy, and his pros is that his super tandem is a 2.5 times attack boost, and all color orders are matching. So that's why I said Law is a bit weaker, because Luffy does the exact same thing, but it's harder to activate his and stuff like that, and it's a 2.5, not a 2 times. And another pro is it's always going to be easier to activate his super tandem because Straw Hats will always be coming out, because they're the main characters of the entire show. It's going to be a lot easier, down the line. We're going to obviously get more Free Spirit, Brooks or Sanjis or Choppers or something like that. We're always going to be getting more Straw Hats, so it helps his super tandem activation. However, the cons of this Luffy is that through levels 1 and 3, you need both a Sanji and a Zoro, so you can't use any other Straw Hats in them. Now, it does hurt because, sure, there's a bunch of Free Spirit, Sanjis, but how many Free Spirit Zoros are there? Barely any? Exactly. There's like, the Treasure Map Zoro, and the one that came out with this batch being the 8th anniversary Rare Recruit Zoro. So it's very hard to activate it, but it's still a very, very strong effect in my opinion. And another con is it's only for Free Spirit. Now, we've seen my other characters, they're for Driven and Powerhouse, or like Strength and Quick, or something like that, or Driven and Striker, or Free Spirit Cerebral. This is purely for Free Spirit. And Luffy's obviously a Free Spirit and Fighter Captain, so fighters won't be receiving the Super Tandem boost. And now for the pros and cons of Kaido. So the pros of his is that he can buff and increase damage taken buff, and gives a 2 times attack boost. Now that buff is a additive of plus 0.75 times. That is very, very, very strong, obviously, because you can take his 1.5 times that goes to immunity up to a 2.25 times increased damage taken. Now that's very strong. It's the highest increased damage taken in the game, but it's at level 5. But when you reach level 5 and level 4, I forgot to put level 4, it requires a striker character instead of just, his crew members, which definitely has the edge over Luffy, because Luffy requires his crew, but you can just use a striker for Kaido at level 4 and 5. However, his cons are it can only activate on the final stage. Now, Luffy's and every other Super Tandem activate throughout the entire quest. Whenever you have a tandem slot on one of the required characters, you can activate the Super Tandem. And another big flaw of Kaido just himself is that if he's a sub, you lose out on half of his Super Tandem. Because if he's a sub, he can't apply the increased damage taken to the enemy through immunity to status effects and stuff like that. Which means even with his special, you lose the conditional boost, you lose the buffing of the increased damage taken, so it really only becomes a 2 times attack boost if he is a sub. And I think that's just a problem with Kaido himself. So if you really want to get the Super Tandem be full, you have to bring a Yamato or somehow fit Law into the team. The 6th anniversary either, 7th anniversary Law onto the team to apply that increased damage taken. But you see how it takes a bunch more work. And the con, same with Luffy. Well, Luffy was only for Free Spirit, and he's only for striker characters. So if you need a powerhouse unit, which he boosts, they won't get boosted under that Super Tandem. But now, everyone, time you've been waiting for to see the second best Super Tandem to be investing into, which is going to be Kaido. If you were listening to anything I said a few minutes ago, you probably would have understood why. not even a few minutes ago, like a few seconds ago, you probably would understand why. Because Kaido's is very, very strong. We've seen what he can do as a captain in Kizuna. He just shreds HP like there's no tomorrow. But if he is a sub, he loses out on that buffing of increased damage taken, his conditional boost, and then from there he does less damage and starts to not shred health as much as he used to. So he requires a lot more effort. But let's read over his super tandem, if I haven't already. So his condition says at the final battle, which is another problem because it can only activate on the final battle, unlike all the other characters. There has to be two of the following: a King, Queen, Jack, Sasaki, X-Ray, Black Maria, Who, Page 1, ulti, or a striker character on the crew. That's very good because we're in Wano, we're in Onigashima. There's gonna be a ton of Who's, Black Maria, Sasaki's, Page 1's, ultis, King, Queen, Jack, X-Drakes that are going to be coming up because we are in Onigashima and Wano. This is their big arc. So there's gonna be a few, if not a few more legends that come out centered around those characters. And you have to, so it can't just be two striker characters basically. It has to be one King, Queen, Jack, Black Maria, X-Drake, Who, Page 1, ulti, or Sasaki, and double characters always count as one. So yeah, you bring a striker character at level 5, and we'll just say X-Drake because X-Drake partners with him perfectly. And at level 5, it'll apply a 2 times tandem attack boost to striker characters, so only for strikers, and then increased damage taken by plus 0.75 times. So I do think Kaido is very, very, very strong. And I think if you like Super Boss a ton and love to just watch HP shred, Nisuna as a captain is going to be your go-to, and that Super Tandem is going to help a lot. But if he's your sub just for some Wano slots or an orb boost, you lose out on his conditional boost, and you lose out on half of his Super Tandem. Which, in my opinion, gives him no merit in being the best character to invest your Super Tandem in. Because, like people like Tozy have said, like people like Stump have said, once this character is power creeped as a captain, he's gonna be just out of mind, pretty much. Because then he can apply that increased damage taken, which is a very big part of his kit. But obviously, you guys all know who number 1 is, and that is the man, Monkey D. Luffy. This is obviously the 8th anniversary Luffy that came out, and obviously Luffy is not flawless. Luffy levels 1 through 3 will require a Zoro or a Sanji character. So that's very hard to activate because there's not a lot of free spirit Zoros. However, his effect being able to activate at level 5 a 2.5 times attack boost for your free spirit characters every single turn you have a tandem slot is a lot better than Kaido's, which only activates on the final boss stage. And plus he makes all type orbs beneficial through level 1 and level 5 all the way through, which is very strong because even at level 1 you can just use it and just at level 1 get a full board of matching type orbs, which is very strong. But I mean, let's read off the effect right now. So at level 5 there has to be 2 Straw Hat characters in the crew, and one of them has to be a Zoro or a Sanji unit. So obviously it's a lot harder at level 1, 2, and 3 because there's barely any free spirit Zoros. Once you reach 4 and 5, you get a ton of, freedom, I guess, because there's units like Soba Mask that give you a tandem orbs and an attack boost. Soba Mask is just a perfect sub for this Luffy and for a bunch of other characters. Super Tandem level 5 will give a 2.5 times attack boost to free spirit characters, and for 1 turn makes crews type slots beneficial. Now currently I'm looking at the the Discord server for these unit informations, but I believe they have it wrong because it says it's a free spirit and fighter attack boost, and I'm pretty sure it's just for free spirits. But it won't change my mind if it's for fighters. It'll actually make me put him as the best of all time. So I think with that being said, if you're going to use your super tandem tablets, this Luffy is the best one to go for because once you get into level 4, he is just going to demolish content very, very easily, being able to activate it every single stage. And of course, Straw Hats will always be coming out, so it just makes his character much better, and we'll probably be seeing a bunch more Free Spirit Zoros as time goes on because of this Luffy. But with that being said, leave your opinions down below. If you think for some reason Black Maria is the best one to be investing in, leave it down below. Why do you think that? I disagree, but I hope you guys all have a very, very good day, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.